One of the main beams was just eaten by termites.
Our architect advised us not to live in the house during the remodeling.
We had to open up the ceiling.
Steve felt confident that he could handle it, and he did.
There was never anything in the house that we couldn't resolve.
We were confident he was going to come up with the right answers.
He just makes solutions.
Well, when I was a kid, I used to build houses with Lego blocks. I had one of the biggest Lego collections of all the kids in the neighborhood. And then I started building houses out of anything I could find. Today, my Lego blocks are bigger and more expensive, and I create bigger spaces with them. I remember as a 10 or 11-year-old riding the bus to downtown Richmond by myself and going to an old hotel that my dad owned and meeting with the superintendent of the building, and she would take me upstairs and point me in the direction of a room that needed some repair. And so I got my feet wet at a very young age. When I got out of college, I decided that it was time for me to start with my own company. Friends of mine would be flipping burgers for the summer job. I was renovating houses. I had an opportunity as a young person to work for my dad with some of his crews and some of his tradespeople, doing various different trades like painting, carpentry, window glazing, even some cabinet work and drywall, plastering. I wanted to make something. I wanted to create something. I wanted to do art in one form or another. And the coolest way for me to envision doing art would be to create a space for somebody to live in. I'm in this business because I want my customer to love the finished product.
I wasn't really sure how all this was going to turn out. It was remarkable, the transition from what the house looked like to what it turned out to look like after Steve got in there. I think one of the biggest things for us is the fireplace. We gave Steve an idea of how we wanted the fireplace to look, and it was a pretty big job. And Steve found the material that looked exactly like what we were looking for. The craftsmanship that he and his guys did on the fireplace is just remarkable. It's a piece of artwork.
We wanted so much openness here. We had a big beam across here that we had to take out to be able to open this up. We had to open up the ceiling here. This was all really flat, and so they had to open all this up. That was quite a challenge. Steve and his crew had done enough houses along here that they knew how to overcome some of the obstacles, as like the FEMA rules and the concrete walls and the opening up of the ceilings. So we depended on him to come up with the solutions, and they worked out fine.
The first project we did with Steve was a very complex project. It was completely changing the front elevation of the house, adding 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and extending the theater and the foyer. He also put in magnificent front stairway. He did all this while we lived in the house with constant attention to how we were surviving. He really took care of us, and that is why we've now chosen him to do our second project, which is completely demolishing our garage and putting a second story on it.
We do lots of different types of projects. We build custom homes, we do large additions, we do whole house remodels. And sometimes these remodeling projects have got a lot of inherent problems and issues.
It was a challenging project. This house was falling down upon itself. It was almost 100 years old and required very careful taking apart and putting back together again. One of the main beams was just eaten by termites. Steve said, "I've fixed this kind of thing before. It's pretty straightforward." And we jacked the house up a few inches, put a new beam in, and it was good as new.
We were getting towards the end and we thought, okay, we're done. And the building inspector said we had to rip out the staircase, which is antique from 1919. And it may not be the most beautiful staircase, but it's the original staircase. And Ed threw a fit. He put his foot down. He said, absolutely not. That is not going. And Steve, he actually went and rebuilt it himself to code, and we were able to keep the staircase.
To a great degree, necessity is the mother of invention. So we find out what the necessity is, and then we deliver the invention.
The design process basically is I interview the client. Once I've interviewed them and found out what they really like, what their style is, what they want to spend on the project, then I go back and I start developing maybe photographs, concept ideas, present that to them, and then start detailing things out like selection of tiles, colors, paints, floor, and try to create their vision for them. I think it's crucial that the designer and builder work early on a project. It helps the client tremendously.
Steve and I have been working together since the first home he built nearly 25 years ago. He's very creative. He pushes through projects like no one else I've ever met. He loves to do custom, tricked out projects. I mean, he loves the challenge of the out of the norm. I take pride in our framing because every trade comes after it, and it has to be precise for their components to fit. We like our framing to be basically like millwork.
He's a great contractor. He really knows his stuff. I mean, he is such an expert. Not only that, he's a great finish carpenter. When I do something, he'll come in and he'll have a look at it. I know what he's going through his mind every time he has a look at it, and I'm always like, you know, is this the perfection he's looking for or not? If not, well then I make it even more perfect than it already is until we get that precision, that look, that finish, that quality, that joining of the different elements that come together to make the project so special.
Every single piece of fit and finish is done perfectly. Every step of the way, Steve brought true craftsmen and true experts to the job site.
The craftsmanship that he and his guys did is just remarkable. Everything was good. Quality was just superb.
Steve had a great group of subcontractors. They all seemed to work together really well. And the painter, he's a perfectionist.
I approach a job by going in and doing surveying first of all, and filling any cracks, dings, and just get the wall prepped so I can get a premium paint job on there.
The guy that did the hardwood floors, he came in later and he was just really happy to see how they turned out at the end. When we saw people take that pride of ownership, that was just let us know that we were working with a team that was so different.
I like to work with people. I like the fact that I'm out there every day managing. I like the fact that I'm overseeing the work. I like to see the details come together. It's the entire process. I love the smell of drywall right after it's hung. Sounds crazy, but building materials are my creative medium. Just as paint is for a painter or charcoal is for an artist. People are crazy about the projects we do for them. When we get done with their project, they move into that house and they love that house. We love it too. We hate to give it up. It kind of becomes our house too in the process. But we know we got to do it. And we move on to the next one.